What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It is Thursday, so you know it is time for our weekly predictions. We got matches coming up this weekend. It's a pretty interesting slate. I wouldn't say it's the world's greatest slate. I think it's another week where Sunday's sort of the better of the 3 days as far as matchups go. We have a couple of real interesting ones, including a FaZe and Toronto matchup on Sunday night. So let's take a look. I'm gonna give you my predictions for each series we got coming up this week. All right, so we're back to the 3-match Fridays, which is nice, but this list of matches is certainly a list. Let's start off with Carolina versus New York subliners. Look, these are the matches where Carolina's lack of slaying really gets exposed, as decent as they can be in search and destroy. New York's also historically a very good search team, so I really just don't see an angle here for Carolina in this series unless they like get on some new maps and New York tries some stuff. Like, I don't know, this one I really think should be a 3-0. 95.5%, so you see what the fans think. That being said, the books have this as plus money to be a 3-0, which I think they're banking again on one of these first 3 maps to be some weird wild card like 6-star Vista situation. But I just think New York's too good and too disciplined. They prepare well to not like 3-0 Carolina here. And I think the only way Carolina take a map is if like they catch them slipping in that first map. So I'm gonna take a 3-0 New York to kick things off. And next up, we have OPTIC versus the Seattle Surge. OPTIC obviously coming off the loss to FaZe last weekend, but I actually think that they didn't play too bad in that series. They just were really unable to finish. Weirdly, they have only played Seattle twice this year, and they were all during the first split. So they didn't play them at all during the second stage, and I'm not really sure what to think about this Seattle team. I know they had a decent victory against Carolina last week, but it's Carolina, and Seattle's getting to a point in their schedule where they're going to play 2 very good teams now back to back. I think that I will give Seattle a map in this because they are pretty good in search, and we have seen that as decent as OPTIC can be in S&D. I think it's elite S&D teams. This is how Seattle has an angle to take one off of them, especially if they end up playing Seattle in like a 6-star S&D. Seattle just got the S&D star stuff on lock, and as you see when FaZe played OPTIC really struggles against teams that do a really good job mid-round, which is what Seattle does. But in the response, OPTIC's going to smoke them, and I'd put any amount of money on OPTIC to take map 3 in this series. In fact, I'm looking up it right now, and OPTIC is minus 2,500 to win map 3 in this series. So I'm gonna take a 3-1. Seattle take map 2. OPTIC take 1, 3, and 4 and get out of here in 4. And then we got Toronto versus Miami. Always a fun one because there's some ex-teammate stuff going on between Toronto, mostly between Scrap and Vickle. Let's just be honest here. I'm trying to think if they have played this season. I'm actually going to look it up right now. And they've only played once, and Toronto 3-0'd them in the beginning of the major 2 qualifiers. So not a lot of matchups between these 2 teams so far this year. And I just don't, again, same thing with the New York Carolina one. I think Miami's lack of slaying and discipline's a real problem in this series. Toronto's going to punish them heavily. I think maybe there's some opportunity for Toronto or for Miami in search, but I just don't see them capitalizing. I personally think Toronto take a 3-0. And the 3-0 is minus money in this one. So I am going to bank on that. All right, next up. So Miami and I don't know why the league keeps doing this. I feel like this is unfair to teams that they have to play last match on Friday and first match on Saturday. Why does this keep happening on this schedule? Like, just put OPTIC Vegas first. Just give OPTIC second match on Friday and first match on Saturday. Give Miami last match on Friday and second match on Saturday. Like, who cares? For 4:30, there's a difference between 3 and 4:30 for viewership. Like, I'd love to know. Anyway, Miami versus LA Thieves. This is a real opportune series for Thieves. They looked really good against Vegas. And I just think about map pools in this one and the maps that Miami likes to play. I could see a Rio hard point. I think Thieves now play with decent enough concepts. They're executing that. I think they should be able to take care of this one. I still think, like Thieves, probably going to drop a map in here. I really am not confident in this sweep. I feel like Miami's good for 1 in this one. I really think they're good for 1. So I'm going to take that. Now, the thing is always we need to check, though, and I'm checking it right now, is do Real Madrid play on Saturday? And they do not. They actually play on Sunday. So it's actually El Clasico. So we can't go with the Real Madrid win, Miami Heretics win, because it is on Saturday and El Clasico's on Sunday. So these will take this one 3-1. OPTIC versus Vegas up next. So the interesting, I think, avenue in this one is obviously Asim's debut for the Vegas Legion, having replaced Purge on his roster. And that's a tough one to come into because I think as good as Vegas concepts and execution could be in, like, say, Hardpoint, they're not going to be able to keep up with OPTIC. OPTIC just play too quick, too fast, and slay too heavy to really give Vegas a chance. In that game mode, Control, maybe Vegas can steal one. The books right now have it as plus money to be a 3-0 and are banking really on Vegas to take a map. I'm going to agree with that. I'll give Vegas either map 1 or map 3 in this series. More likely to Control, and OPTIC will take 2 whole points in S&D. And a pretty clean week for OPTIC, 3-1, 3-1, getting off to a good start after a double match week. And then finally, to close out on Saturday, we got the New York Subliners versus the Seattle Surge. And this is another one of those matchups where a team that is unquote good in Search is playing another very good team in S&D. And it doesn't give Seattle a lot of leeway to really win this one, or really, like, I think, get a map off of New York. So for me, I'm going to go with the New York 3-0, but as always, New York can definitely always troll a map. In a series like this, it's going to have to be the hard point because, as I talked about 2 minutes ago, Seattle and Control is like the freest of dubs in the CDL right now. I don't see Seattle taking S&D off in New York, but New York did lose a high-rise search last week, so you never know. But I just don't see Seattle. Put them in a hard point, so 3-0 it is. And I think this slate's actually like the funnest of the 3 days. All the other 2 ones, I think like the closest one is Thieves Miami. Every other series I think is This one is as close as I think we got to a pick'em, to be honest. LAG versus Carolina. There's a lot of map pool overlap here, and these teams have only played like once this year. There's only made 2 qualifiers, and Carolina did take care of them in 4. I just think for LAG, they're just a different team online, aka not as good. And even with Carolina's slaying difficulties, like, Carolina's got no problem playing them on a sub-base hard point. So I am going to take Carolina 3-1. I'm going to call a duplicate of that series from stage 2. And actually looking at it, LAG took an S&D high rise, but Carolina took a sub base hard point, high rise control, and a Skid Row hard point. I can see that playing out, but obviously Skid Row hard point is not around anymore. So Minnesota Rocker versus the Boston Breach. Now, this is a big one for both teams. Really, last weekend was basically like a match practice weekend. I thought Boston had the more winnable series against Miami. And this is a really a must win for, I think, both teams. Otherwise, they're going to feel like they've got zero momentum now heading into harder parts of the schedule. I don't really know kind of how to call this one. I'm very curious what the fans have it. They have it 70-30 Minnesota for Boston. I don't know if I agree with the fan vote there. The books have it Minnesota minus 175 favorite and Boston a plus 125 favorite. So they have it way closer than 75-25. And I really do think that it's going to come down to who do I trust more in S&D right now. And it might be Boston, to be honest. I'm just trying to think. This one's a hard one to predict because we haven't really seen a lot from both these teams. Boston didn't look amazing in Search last weekend. Really, like, did Rocker? I mean, kind of, they won that high rise against New York, I guess. But Minnesota doesn't want to respawn. I'm gonna go Boston. I'm gonna go Boston 3-1. But if this goes last map, man, we've seen both these teams' history in Game 5s this year. I don't know. Some crazy stuff could happen, but I'm gonna take Boston 3-1. I think this one's just a tough one to predict. And then we get to Toronto and FaZe, and this is the best match of the weekend. These two teams played online during the Major 2 qualifiers, and FaZe took care of business pretty handily against Toronto. The real difficulty, I think, for Toronto in this series, if we go mode by mode, is that FaZe are going to get rid of sub base, and Toronto doesn't have that Skid Row hardpoint like fallback anymore in this matchup. They tried the Karachi angle last time and they got slammed. So hardpoints are a little bit tricky here. I don't quite know for Toronto what the angle is going to be, and I do favor FaZe in S&D right now and likely in Control. So I think FaZe take this 3-1. Maybe we sneak a last mapper in here. The fans have it 70-30 FaZe Toronto. Again, I feel like that's off by about 10-15% because there's always a chance that one of these teams does not show up on the day, and I don't think FaZe played that good against OPTIC last weekend, even though somehow they won that series. I just think FaZe is just in a better spot with their map pool right now, and if Toronto's forced to play them on like a Rio situation, I just don't think it's going to go well for them. And FaZe is going to get rid of some very obvious vetoes for FaZe here, like Karachi Control. We'll see you later. Like Karachi S&D, we'll see you later. It just makes it hard for Toronto. It makes it hard for Toronto to really chip away at FaZe's map pool. And once you get rid of the better Toronto maps out of the pool, I just don't see a lot of angles for Toronto to really come at FaZe's best maps, but maybe they've been preparing for this one, and Toronto could finally get some momentum going into their home major in a few weeks. Yeah, no 3-2 predictions out of me. I think we can get a 3-2 somewhere. I think LAG Carolina and Minnesota Boston have a lot of 3-2 potential. Miami Thieves, I can see it if Miami play decent, but honestly, I think they're going to let us down. And every other series other than that, I don't really think so. I think FaZe Toronto could theoretically have a Game 5 situation, but I think that's entirely dependent on how good Toronto plays on some of these new maps we haven't quite seen them on just yet as a way to attack FaZe's map pool. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.